confused or listless or would lose the thread of a conversation in private 7 in Normandy, at the White House. Not all the time, not saying that that's the way he is all the time, and that there's clearly moments people say that he's forceful and with it and all of that. But these people suggest that that what happened, what Americans saw at the debate, has a precursor. What do you say to that?
So I want to be mindful and respect your reporting. I have not read it. I have not seen it, so it's hard for me to respond to it directly. But what I can speak to more broadly is that I have engagement with the president pretty regularly. What I see is a strong, resolute president who's always willing and able to work on behalf of the American people. I do not know who these folks are that you speak of, so it's hard for me to talk about that and to speak to that. I can just speak to my experience and go back again on the president's record and what he's been able to deliver on behalf of the American people. So I just do want to be mindful.
I guess just one follow-up.
Sure.
Is 50 million plus Americans saw the debate last Thursday. They get a very different story from you. You just described a very different sounding president. Obviously, other administration officials describe him very differently than what people saw. How do you reconcile those two versions of a president, one who appeared the way they did to millions of people, and the other who appears always to be, sort of very forceful and not have any of those?
I mean, look, the president spoke to this. You heard me speak to this. We believe, and others have said this, not just me, other folks who have been on networks and also obviously has spoken to all of you, it was a 90-minute debate. It was a bad night. That's what we believe it to be. We're not taking away what people saw. We're just not. That is, want to be very clear about that. We want to also make sure people understand that the president realizes. I keep saying this over and over again. He said he's not as young as he used to be, and he has addressed this over and over and over again. But you saw him last night, right? You saw him last night. You saw him at the rally. You saw him at the watch parties. There's been many instances. State of the Union. You saw him take on Republicans by himself, and what was happening back and forth in the State of the Union. There has been also many instances where the president has really showed his strength and resolute that all of you have seen and commented about it. And so I think we cannot forget that as well. And we also heard from President Obama, who himself has said his first debate wasn't great. He talked about that, and most incumbents, their first debates aren't great. And so look, we're going to continue to build on the unprecedented record by continuing to fight for the American people. That is our commitment, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Go ahead.
Thanks, Karine. I have 2 questions. Sure. To follow up on that, you talked about how you've spent time with the president. When you're looking at the time you spent with him, have you ever seen the president have a bad night like we saw on the debate stage during your time here at the White House?
No.
So were you surprised by what you saw on the debate stage?
I mean, look, I know that he had a cold. Many of you were reaching out to us, to my team and myself directly. You heard the hoarse voice. We were able to confirm he had a cold. He was under the weather, obviously. Look, we all have bad nights, right, or bad moments. It is not unusual. I just said there have been incumbents, most incumbents, for their first debate. It doesn't go well. So it's not also unusual in that regard as well. So, look, we're going to move forward. That's what we want to do. We want to look forward. We just announced some engagement that the president's going to have. We announced, obviously, the interview with ABC in Georgetown, Wisconsin. He's going to go to Pennsylvania. We're going to have a press conference next week. We want to turn the page on this. And we want to turn the page for the American people as well, because we know that they need to see him out there. He's going to continue to be out there. He has been. And we understand how important that is. And so we're going to turn the page. We're going to get out there across the country. Americans are going to see him for themselves. And I think that's going to be very important as well.
And has the president had a chance to speak one-on-one with Vice President Harris since the debate?
I can't speak to any conversations that they've had, and so I'll just leave it at that. I don't have any readout of a conversation between the two of them.
Thanks, Karine. So I've spoken to a lot of donors since the debate, and they want to know what exactly happened that night. So just to follow up on MJ's question, I know you said he hadn't taken any cold medication. Was there any other medication he had taken? That's what many of them are asking.
No, I understand. I was asked about the cold medicine. I asked about the cold medicine. He was not taking any cold medicine. And I don't have anything beyond that. I don't have anything beyond that to share. And look, I've answered this question multiple times at this point. I don't have anything else to add beyond what I have shared with your colleagues here in the room. We really, truly want to turn the page on this. We really want to be able to get out there and speak directly to the American people. Speak directly to you all. The president will. And I think that's important too. Look, and not forget what this president has been able to do the last 3.5 years, how he's been able to deliver. And there is a stark contrast in what this president has done and what Republicans in Congress are doing, right? He's trying to protect our rights as president. He's trying to protect our freedoms. He's trying to protect really important programs that matter to the American people. He wants to protect women's rights, Roe v. Wade. He wants to continue to build an economy that works for all. That's what we're going to focus on. And that's what Americans are going to hear, continue to hear from this president. Anything else, I think I've litigated this a lot already in this briefing room. I just don't have anything else to add. Get Andrew.
Thank you, Karine. 2 questions.
Sure.
You have repeatedly referred to the president's outing after the debate at the watch party, his remarks the next day in North Carolina, his appearances at fundraisers, his appearances this morning at the DC Emergency Operations Center. All of those appearances were scripted events where he spoke from a most spoke from a teleprompter.
I know, but you said all, but not all.
Okay, well, if you're correcting me, they're most. They're scripted, spoken from a teleprompter. How are Americans supposed to get the sense that the president is fully engaged and capable and thinking off the cuff when he's reading from prepared remarks so often? And why can't he just come down here? The briefing room's 30 seconds away. Yeah. Why can't he come down here and assure us and the American people that he's okay? And I have a follow-up.
Okay. First of all, it wasn't all. It was when he was speaking in front of the audience, but it wasn't all. When you think about the tarmac, when you think about engaging at the Waffle House, when you think about engaging at the watch party and doing a very long rope line, and when he was at the tarmac, it was in the middle of the night, literally 2 o'clock at night. We all wanted to go to bed, but the president was certainly very focused and zeroed in on the American people who were out there, cheering him on and wanting to see him and take selfies and get a hug from this president. That's what you saw. And I don't know if you missed this, but I also shared that he has done more than 40 interviews this year alone. And we're going to continue that. He's going to do an interview with ABC, George Stephanopoulos, this week. Those were unscripted. He's done more than 500 gaggles. Those are unscripted. And we want to continue to do that. We do. We want to continue to do that. There's going to be a press conference next week, a NATO big boy press conference, as Justin has reminded us, next week. And so that's going to be important as well.
And I have a follow-up. And
sure.
One of my colleagues behind me shouted a similar question to what I'm going to be asking you. But I think given what happened on Thursday, given the reporting in the New York Times and other outlets about the president's more frequent lapses, losing his train of thought, all of us saw what happened on Thursday where he simply could not form coherent answers to many or some, if you will, of the questions, and appeared to lapse into nonsensical answers at the end. We beat Medicare, for instance. I'm going to ask something delicate, and you may not like it. The president may not like to hear it if he's watching, but I think the American people need to get a yes or no answer on this. does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's, any form of dementia, or degenerative illness that would cause these sorts of lapses? And it's a yes or no question. And if you don't know, why don't you, as one of his senior staff members, know? The
I
yes
have
or
an
no
answer for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's a no. And I hope you're asking the other guy the same exact question. Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
On the statement that Congressman Dong had put out,
Yeah.
does the president feel like members, the Democratic congressmen, should be able to speak their minds on this? Or does he think, calling for him to withdraw is hurting the party writ large?
I mean, look, this is, that's something about the Democratic Party that we really respect. It is a big tent party. Many people are going to have their opinions. We are going to have our disagreements, and that is what is important. And we really respect other people's opinions and thoughts. I think that's what makes, this party different, right, than the other side. Certainly, we see that with how it's playing out in Congress, or how it tends to play out in Congress. So the congressman is going to have his opinion. He's going to have his thoughts. That's for him to speak to. We are not, this is not a president that's about his personal politics. That is not this president is all about. He doesn't care only about himself. That is not what this president is all about. And I also read out some supportive statements that we've heard from leaders of Congress. Former Speaker Pelosi, I read out what she laid out. I read out what Congressman Clyburn has said. And I think that matters as well. And you all have heard from multiple supporters over the past couple of days since Thursday. And I think that's important as well.
And just to be clear, the president has not spoken to either Senator Schumer or Leader Jeffries?
What I can say is that the president plans to speak to them this week. I don't have anything
Is there a
beyond.
reason though it's been 5 days?
Well,
you think they would have spoken?
no, I hear you. I addressed this moments ago. The president was on the road for 2.5 days, did 4 states. His advisors, his high-level White House officials were talking to congressional members, as some of you have reported, over the past couple of days. I think that's important. They have regularly engaged, not just with congressional members, with governors, with mayors, and then there's the campaign that does it on a political level, right? They've had regular calls. I think some of you have reported on that as well. Now this week, the president is going to take some time and talk to those congressional members, and as I stated, also to Democratic governors tomorrow. Okay.
You mentioned that sometimes the candidates have a bad first debate. There's been a lot of discussion going around, and of course no decision yet, but that maybe there isn't a second debate.
So I'll be super careful. That's something for the campaign to respond to, but I do believe they did respond to this, and I do believe they have responded to this, and they said that there's going to be another debate, but that's something for them to speak to. And I will just quote what President Obama stressed, right? Bad debate nights happen. Trust me, I know. And then he praised President Biden's leadership and his agenda of fighting for the middle class, our freedoms, and the rule of law. And you heard the president speak to the rule of law just last night. And so certainly that will continue. But you've heard from a former president about this particular issue. Go ahead, Michael.
Thanks, Karine. Obama was 51 during that
I kind of knew you would say that.
debate.
I knew you would say that, but he's not the only one. He's not. It has happened in the past. First debates for incumbents, and sometimes it's not their best.
I know you've said a couple times that you want to turn the page.
Yeah.
The issue, I think, the core issue here is that you can't turn the page on age.
Yeah.
Aging decline is a one-way street.
Well,
So
right.
at the end of the day,
Right.
if these are the questions you're getting now, what are the questions you're going to be getting in 2 years or 3 years?
I have thoughts about 2
Well-
years, 3 years from now, but look,
How can you or anyone say that you have confidence that he can be in this job at that time?
Look, here's what I would say to that. We are not turning the page on age. That's not what we're doing. We understand. We get that, right? The president said, "I am not a young man." He said that. We get that. We understand how the American people feel. What we want to continue to do is deliver for the American people. That's what we want to see. That's what the president wants to do. And that's the turning of page. Let's continue on the successes, on the unprecedented successes that this president has had. And on issues that majority of Americans care about, healthcare, economy, those are things that they care about. Democracy, freedom, fighting for the rights for women to make decisions on their bodies. That's what the president wants to continue to that's the turning of the page. But we get it. I'm not taking away from that. I don't want to do that. That is not, I do not want to walk off this podium and that's what you all think. We're not doing that. And the president doesn't want you all to do that. But he can do the job. He can.
The question about what gives you confidence about 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, or 5 years?
We believe that this is a president that is able to continue to deliver and build on the unprecedented success that he's been able to do. That's what we believe. We believe, and he believes it. And he is determined and committed to doing that. And Michael, and I think the thing too that's important is we have been able to do things that most modern presidents haven't been able to do, and that matters as well. I know you guys are trying to get me to look into the future, but what I can say to you is this is a president that is committed to doing that.
I'm not sure anybody doubts that commitment.
Yeah.
I think the question is, given the performance, and I apologize.
No, Michael's like, no, you take it.
I mean, I just think the question, it's about, it's the way we look at our elderly parents and grandparents. It's, you maybe visit them once a year and you see troubling signs because you don't live in the same city perhaps, and the first question that you go to is, I wonder if this is like a one-time thing or if it's something that has been happening for a longer time that we need to deal with. And the second question is,
you're going multiple times.
Where are they going to be in a year? Where are they going to be in 2 years?
Yeah.
Do we need to put them in a home? All of the questions that go through that, and this is sort of the American people's version of that.
I hear, and I hear you, and that's what I'm saying. Look, this is why the president goes through, medical examinations, right? And we release those medical examinations, right? We've done that the past couple of years. We're going to continue to do that. This is why we're going to go out there and continue to be out there and do interviews and talk to the American people. And at the end of the day, I got to be careful, right? Because we are in a campaign season. But the American people will see for themselves, right? And I just want to be super, super careful. But look, this is a president that has worked incredibly hard for the American people. And he, not just as president, as vice president, as a senator. And he is committed. And we cannot take away from the fact of his 3.5 years of leadership, what that has been able to do, what he's been able to get done. And that doesn't come from, that doesn't come easily. And he did it in historic fashion. He did. And the data proves that. And so, look, he's committed to continuing to make that progress, continue to work, whether it's climate change, whether it's the economy, whether it's healthcare. That is what he is committed to doing. And, he had a bad night. He did. And we are admitting that, owning up to that. You heard the president speak to that, and I think that's important for the American people to hear from us and from him as well. I know I have to go. I'll be back tomorrow, but go ahead.
Thanks, Karine. I just wanted to go back to the Representative Doggett's statement.
Yeah.
Part of his statement, he said that Biden staying in the race could kind of work against helping to save democracy. So I know you said it was a big tent party, people have their opinions, but how do you corral Democrats when there are members of the party who believe that about the president staying in the race? And do you have a response to that specifically?
Yeah, look, this is a president. He jumped into this election. This I can talk about, obviously, in 2020, and I remind you all that he beat the other guy in 2020. He won in 2020. That's why he's president. But he jumped in because of democracy, right? He jumped in because of what was happening, because he believed he needed to do everything that he can to protect our democracy and now protect our freedoms because of what happened with Roe v. Wade. Obviously, we don't agree with that. What we believe is that this is a president that has had, that is going to continue to fight for democracy, and that's going to continue to focus on making sure that, we get Roe v. Wade. into law, right? Make sure that IVF is not taken away from families. Make sure that contraception is not taken away from families. Make sure that we fight for our voting rights, right? There are so many things that we need to continue to fight for. And at the end of the day, this is a president that has delivered, working closely with Congress and doing some of these things in a bipartisan way. And I think the reason why that he's been able to get some of these legislation done, whether it's the CHIPS and Science Act, the Veterans Act, the bipartisan infrastructure legislation, is because of who he is and because of how he has that experience to work across the aisle. That doesn't happen with everybody, and this president has been able to do that. So we're going to continue to do that work. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, thanks everybody.